Today we're discussing a video about how terrible TikTok is for kids and the long-term effects it could possibly have for them in the future.
TikTok is undoubtedly one of the most toxic places on the internet, with a culture of uncontrolled clout chasing, dangerous challenges, and senseless cancellation.
I don't know, I feel like I think Twitter is kind of way more toxic than TikTok. I'm not going to hold you. TikTok's definitely up there for sure.
There's been a few casualties over its 6-year history, and one of the most well known of them has been OnlyJS. Now, if you look at her profile on TikTok today, nothing seems too out of the ordinary. Most of her videos about things like life hacks or facts.
Also, when it comes to TikTok, for me, I kind of just post and ghost. I don't really spend too much time like scrolling and, you know, exploring other people's page, mostly because I just don't. Usually the only time I'll see a TikTok is if it's on Twitter or I get shown somewhere else. I rarely sit down and like scroll through like my TikTok feed. I'll just post my shit and get out of there.
About animals. It's generally harmless content, and nothing would suggest that she's been called the most hated content creator on TikTok. But if you scroll down a little, you'll see that she was getting at least double the amount of views a year ago and even more a year before that.
Damn, what'd she do?
So what happened here? Well, on TikTok, the court of public opinion is always in session, and a couple of years ago, it turned its sights on OnlyJS. She had always been quick to respond to hate comments and negative feedback. In 2020, just a year into her TikTok career, she tweeted about how angry she would get over hate comments and how she couldn't deal with them, despite her inability to.
Yeah, when it comes to like hate content, it says like a content creator, you're gonna get hate content, like comments. It's just gonna happen. You know, nobody likes, like, you can't have everybody in the world like you. It just doesn't work like that. You're gonna have people who hate you for absolutely no reason. Sometimes they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and just want to leave some mean shit on your page. It's just how it is. Nobody has 100% people that like them. And if you're getting into content creation sphere, you have to kind of have a thick skin, really. You have to be able to deal with that shit, unfortunately. And in my opinion, the best way to deal with it is kind of just like ignore it, you know, because for every one person who's leaving some mean shit, there's usually someone else leaving something nice. You want to focus on the good and not so much as the mean comments. And if, depending on your size, you can just ban people into the platform. You know, you can ban them, get them out of your page and shit, so you don't really have to see it anymore. Don't even respond to that type of shit. Unless you can get clouded off of it, then that's different.
To deal with the fame, her channel kept growing, gaining over 6 million followers from July 2020 to 2021. And it didn't take long for TikTokers to realize she was an easy target that they could use to boost their own profile on the site. And it all kicked off in February 2021, when some DMs from 4 years ago were leaked. They included OnlyJS belittling an unknown influencer, insulting them and their parents, as well as dropping the N-word.
Oh, damn, bro. Like, you couldn't just... This shit always kills me when like you find out like a big content creator has a dark past or just was wild online. It's like at what point in your life did you think that shit was not going to catch up with you? Doing wild shit, leaving shit in people's TikToks, being just mean in general, like it exists there. Just be normal, bro. It's so easy to be normal online and not fucking extra. But I guess that comes from like growing up on the internet in the age of where you have internet at a young age. You're just doing shit when you're a kid. You're not really thinking about the future. And then you get older and you're like, hey, I want to be a content creator or whatever. And you completely forgot the type of shit you left online. That digital footprint shit is fucking for real.
Even though she was clearly going through something, it was pretty awful stuff. But you still need to ask the question of whether what happened next was justified, as immediately, TikTokers and influencers jumped on the opportunity to call out a larger creator. After the 7th call-out video, OnlyJS went on a rant against Aunt Karen, as well as her blaming her own ADHD for being slow to respond.
I have a diagnosed neurological disorder that makes me forget things and procrastinate due to time blindness.
Up until this point,
I'm sorry, but ADHD is not an excuse to leave fucking racist comments on people's shit. It's just not an excuse. I'm sorry, bro.
The hate that OnlyJS was getting at least had a good reason, but after all of this had happened, people knew they could get to her with almost anything. A few months later, she made a joke about guide dogs and
oh yeah, you show the internet a little bit of weakness or opportunity, they're gonna be on your ass, bro.
The whole thing happened all over again.
If a service dog ever approaches you but they're alone, that means that their owner's in trouble and they probably can't move, so you should follow him, because you'll get a free wallet.
A whole community of people
shouldn't fucking laugh at that. Oh man, I'm a terrible fucking person for that.
almost instantly jumped on OnlyJS, calling her out and saying that she had harmed their community, incited violence, and made them feel unsafe.
OnlyJS is not a good creator, should not be followed, and should not be listened to.
All over a mediocre joke which she had labelled as a joke in her video. And as if that wasn't enough, another creator came out, alleging that she had also ghosted him when he offered to collaborate with her after the incident. He also said that she had used a ghostwriter for the apology.
I mean, so what? She just changed her mind about collabing with you, bro? Like, what is that about? People can change their mind, not want to work with you anymore. You just sounds fucking mad.
I then tried to help him to the best of my ability while still being extremely angry and frustrated. Helped with a good bit of the apology, especially the part about black creatives. When we were both talking about that part in the apology, I really did think that they would hold up their end of the bargain, you know?
The ball kept rolling, and eventually a petition was created to kick her off of TikTok entirely, gaining over 400,000 signatures. Obviously, it didn't work, but OnlyJS still saw a massive drop in likes, views, and followers. Even today, despite carrying on her video.
I mean, like her or hate her content, if she's not doing anything like against platform TOS, you can't just kick someone off the platform like that, you know? That's kind of unfair. Not saying I agree with whatever the fuck she was saying and doing. I'm just saying, if I'm following TOS, whether somebody hates me or, you know, likes me, whatever, I don't want people to have the power to just kick me off the platform because they don't like my content. As long as I'm not hurting anybody or breaking TOS.
She's never recovered from the backlash, and God knows what her mental health's like today. And it doesn't really matter that OnlyJS was wrong to say those things or keep responding like she did. The way that so many people...
That's another thing. You don't really want to respond to that type of shit because it just keeps going. Unless it's actually warranted, like, it's difficult. If you give them, show people weakness, or you like respond to the hate, it's only opening the floodgates for more. But depending on the situation, you really have no choice but to respond, you know, depending on what the fuck you did. If it's actually like a non-factor and people blowing something out of proportion, then maybe don't give it attention. But if it's actually something serious, then yeah, respond to it, but be professional about it. Like, goddamn.
Jumped on the bandwagon and got their content from her downfall is all too common. It's not just a problem on TikTok.
See, people are waiting on your downfall so they can have a come up. You got to be careful, bro.
Of course. On Twitter and here on YouTube, the problem's still there. But on TikTok, it's like the dial has been turned up to 11. There's thousands of different segmented groups, all with their own causes and agendas to push, along with their own triggers and things you just can't make a joke about.
That's what I'm saying. People want to see somebody else fail. There's people out there who just wait for like big content creators to fail just so they can get their videos off on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, so they can cloud up. And I guess I can't be mad at it, you know what I'm saying? The grind is a grind. They're playing the game, but shit. This shit can be cutthroat sometimes.
About. When they find someone who's popular that they can call out, they'll jump on it. Whichever side of the fence you're on, you can't deny that TikTok is brutal when it comes to cancelling people. If you have any sort of a following and you show weakness or make a mistake, thousands of people will be ready to tear you down for content.
Yeah, you know what? I take back what I said at the beginning. TikTok is definitely way more toxic than fucking Twitter. This shit is silly, bro. Oh my God.
And clout. And once you're on their radar, everything you say or do will be watched like a hawk for the slightest misstep. Thousands of comedians make more offensive jokes than OnlyJS every single day without anyone caring at all. But once you're profiled on the site as an easy target and a punching bag, there's nothing you can do to shake the reputation. Meanwhile, creators who do things that are much worse and that should get them cancelled can get away pretty much unscathed.
You're also like in a different position too when you're being a comedian. Like all these comedians already have like other shit going on. They already have like their fame and their audience where they can just go do a show or whatever and be fine. Like TikTok is different. Your entire audience on TikTok, that's where you post your shit. You know, you have no choice. It's not like you can just uninstall the app and move on. Like if you're a comedian again, it doesn't matter. You can just go fucking look at Dave Chappelle, for example. You can just still go do shows. Who gives a shit?
Just like schoolyard bullying, it's all about the reaction. If people can get something out of calling you out, then it's gonna keep happening. If you don't respond, they'll eventually move on to the next target. It's understandable.
Yeah, that's another thing. The internet forgets really quickly. So sometimes you just gotta lay low for a while and just do your own thing and people move on. But sometimes like if you're being an actual shitty person, like there's no helping you, bro.
When you consider that TikTok users, especially the ones who care about drama, are mostly immature kids.
Yes, that's another thing. Oh my God, TikTok is full of so many kids and kids have no filter. They don't care. They're just fucking bored and then online being assholes. So you got to be careful with that shit too, man. I try to, like personally, I'm trying to cultivate an audience that isn't like that because I don't want to fucking deal with it. But goddamn, you have to be careful.
The algorithms are replicating, then they're going to set the atmosphere for the entire site. The danger is that with how absorbed kids are in TikTok, that this culture is just going to carry on like an eternal high school. Toxicity on TikTok isn't just limited to the app itself though. An entire generation of children growing up today could have their futures ruined by its influence. Kids coming back to school after the pandemic are noticeably harder.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Like growing up in a world where you're born and like you're attached to the internet already, it's so easy to just be on there as a kid and just upload and say and do things that it's kind of, you know, ridiculous that you shouldn't be posting online, but you're a kid and you don't know no better. It's like things we all did as a kid, but the only difference is we didn't have the internet and he wasn't really posting shit like that. But now you can do or say something crazy as a kid and that's just going to haunt you for the rest of your life if you put that shit on the internet. So it's definitely hard. I'll say that much.
To teach. 70% of a survey of 1,000 teachers from across the US agreed. Their attention spans have gone down the drain and now barely any of them can focus, and teachers are struggling to keep them working for more than 5 minutes at a time. So what happened here? Well, when the pandemic hit, a whole year of school and lessons were done remotely. During that time, pretty much nothing got done.
sleeping on camera is fucking wild, bro. Holy shit. That's crazy. You gotta have balls for that.
It wasn't the teacher's fault. There's no.
I'm so glad I wasn't in school when this shit happened, bro. Oh my God, I would have been livid. I feel so bad for the kids who had this shit happen to them their senior year when they were graduating. I feel awful for those kids. Imagine losing your whole senior year to COVID and you have to do the remote shit. Man, that must have been horrible.
Way for them to stop people just opening up another browser tab or going on their phone. I mean, can you blame the kids though? With distraction just seconds away from their fingertips and TikTok's targeted short bursts of dopamine on tap for a year straight, most of them didn't have a chance. For tons of children, TikTok was pretty much their entire life for a year. It was how they got their social connection through the app in 10 seconds.
Also, I don't know if it's fair to blame this all on TikTok. I feel like just entertainment in general, there's so much of it everywhere and so easy to access. That could also be contributing to it. Just to blame it all on TikTok, I don't know, that seems a little wild.
Second bursts. Once they get back to the real world, it's hard for it to compare. But once they go back to school, they were put straight back into the boring environment of the classroom, where you need to spend hours focusing on the most mundane work possible. Lots of them couldn't deal with it, especially with how much most kids had.
I mean, it's always been like that. Fuck, man. I was like that shit in school, man. I can't. It's too much, bro. It's like they want you to wake up at fucking 6 in the morning and then fucking every hour focus on a new. This shit was difficult. Like, I can't fucking focus. Boring ass teacher put me to sleep and shit.
Had to catch up on after the year at home, as in all the other pandemic stresses, and you get the situation teachers are dealing with today. A whole generation of children who are the victims of TikTok in this way, on top of what modern life is already throwing at them. Even the ones who buckled down and didn't miss much work over the pandemic are suffering because of it. If the teachers are constantly dealing with the consequences of TikTok attention spans, then there's far less time to actually teach the things these kids will need in life. Unfortunately, while it might be the most widespread of TikTok's problems, it's definitely not the most harmful or insidious. I mean, if you've ever been awake at any point in the past 5 years, you've probably heard about TikTok challenges.
Oh man, not the TikTok. I've seen some wild fucking TikTok challenges. That might be the worst part of TikTok. People doing stupid shit just to go viral and then what, bro? Like, I've seen some shit where people just do some out of pocket shit, potentially ruining your life. And it's like, well, at least I went viral. Was it worth it?
Formula seems to be for kids to think about the most dangerous or stupid thing they could possibly
I'm not gonna lie, some of it is funny, but some of it's crazy. Like, why is this dude going through the roof? What's happening?
do, make a video of them doing it, then posting it online for millions to watch. One example is the ice cream licking challenge.
I remember that shit. That shit was fucking awful. I hope everybody who got involved with that in some capacity got fucking reprimanded, because that shit was disgusting. You don't fuck with people's food, man.
A stunt popularized during the pandemic, where you lick ice cream in the shop and then put it back on the shelf.
And it's like grown-ass adults I seen doing this shit too, bro. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Bro, if I seen somebody doing that when I'm shopping, like, this dude look like he's in his fucking 40s. What the hell are you doing? You're a grown-ass man. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'd have a hard time not just exploding on this dude, bro, if I seen that shit. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Too old for that shit. The milk crate challenge was actually fucking weak, bro. Like, if you want to go ahead and do some dumb shit like this and put yourself in harm's way, go for it. I'm not gonna fucking stop you. But that shit was fucking hilarious.
You film yourself walking up a stack of precarious boxes, which resulted in tons of falls and hospital visits. Both of these idiotic ideas pale in comparison to the most dangerous and reckless one of them all, the challenge. In 2021, videos on TikTok
The what challenge?
which detailed instructions on how to cut off your breathing for an extended period of time.
What the fuck? Where was I? I didn't hear this one. This is crazy. Bro, if you're out here suffocating yourself for a TikTok challenge, I mean, you deserve everything that happens to you. Holy shit.
The goal was the rush of adrenaline and lightheadedness you experience from your brain running out of oxygen. Obviously, it's a terrible, fatal idea, but through the lens of a TikTok game, it became all the more appealing. Between 2021 and 2022, it was linked to the deaths of 20 kids.
God damn. Them no, I'm not even gonna say. I was about to say something. I was about to fucking say so. Let me stop, bro.
You can put a lot of this blame on TikTok Store. For years, it's been pitifully easy for young kids to sign up on the app, and the developers of TikTok know how dangerous the algorithm can be. Mixed with the fact that
Honestly, all this is telling me, like, as a parent, you have to be an actual parent and monitor your children, what they're doing on their phones. Like, maybe don't give them a phone until a certain age. Maybe, like, phones have so much ability to actually lock your kids out of certain things. You could take advantage of that. And I feel like parents don't even do that, or they don't know better, but you can absolutely limit what your kids can use. Even like when it comes to their computers and internet, like your routers and shit have options where you can set it up where kids can't access certain websites and certain content. You know, you can actually be a parent, but I think a lot of parents either aren't tech savvy enough, which is probably the biggest issue. I think a lot of parents really aren't, they're not aware of that type shit, or they just don't care.
that pretty much any 5-year-old can check a box saying that they're over 13, and you get a recipe for disaster. Without active policing and searching for underage users, it's just gonna keep happening. TikTok also tried putting restrictions on the keywords related to the challenge, showing people warnings about how dangerous it is instead of videos telling them how to.
I mean, the platform can only do so much, right? They can obviously, limit and tag stuff like that, but ultimately it comes down to your parent, man. You have to actually be a parent
to do it.
A 12-year-old boy is on life support after his parents say he may have tried a social media challenge.
He told me the bad news that he's not going to survive, he's not going to make it. I just couldn't think of it. I couldn't imagine.
Damn, what do you do?
It wasn't too late for some, though. It didn't make up for the algorithm promoting it in the first place. Lawsuits filed by the parents in the US against TikTok and ByteDance failed to land. Despite their inability to keep young kids off of the platform, they aren't legally responsible for what people post on the app. After the Italian government...
Bro, just take their phones. Just take your kid's phone away. Don't give them a phone until a certain age. Holy shit, this is so crazy to me.
Government demanded they put more focus on removing underage accounts. TikTok banned over 500,000 accounts.
Bro, my kid, if I have a kid and I'm gonna give him a phone because I want him to be safe, bro, I'm giving them a brick. They're gonna be walking around with a brick phone. They are not getting a smartphone. I do not care. You're getting a flip phone, and it's only to be used in emergencies. Until you get a certain age, then okay, maybe we'll get you a better phone. But if you're like under the age of like 17 or something, you're not getting a smartphone. I'm sorry.
Now, of course,
I don't care how bullied you get in school for not having a smartphone. It ain't fucking happening.
Can't entirely blame TikTok for this. Stupid dares have existed for years, but if kids find out about them through TikTok rather than from other kids, they're much more likely to try and do them by themselves. It makes these sons far more dangerous. Nobody there to help them when it goes wrong. And in our dystopian era of tablet parenting, kids are often left with their devices for hours at a time. Every year, it gets more acceptable for younger children to get their own devices with barely any supervision.
The only person who get these devices are the parents. Have to be buying these kids' devices. There's no way these kids have money to go out and just go buy an iPhone or an iPad, unless they're fucking like in a rich ass family. Most kids aren't about to just walk into Walmart and buy an iPad. It's not going to happen.
The internet is incredibly dangerous for children who don't have the ability to think things through or see the obvious dangers lurking around every corner on the app. It changes their whole worldview in their formative years if they're being raised by TikTok rather than actual human beings. And with how widespread it is, we're only going to see more.
Damn, they destroyed that fucking bathroom. How the hell do the kids do that?
Incredibly dangerous challenges and even more victims of TikTok. One problem that TikTok is definitely responsible for, though, is the grooming of underage users on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok definitely has a lot of weirdo ass fucking people on that shit, bro.
Live. A Forbes report investigating hundreds of different live streams last year found tons of examples of predatory behavior. Despite TikTok Live allegedly having an 18+ age limit, kids as young as 8 years old regularly slip past the incredibly loose checks.
It's crazy. How are these kids, like, who's filming these kids doing these things? I mean, I guess maybe they're friends, but holy shit, it's so fucking weird.
Platform, they quickly gain a viewing from creeps treating it as an underage strip club. They make requests, asking the young girls to show off parts of their bodies like their feet, or asking them to flash for the camera. For these favors, money is sent both through external sites like Cash App, but also through TikTok's own virtual gifts, which can be exchanged for cash. And TikTok's massive 50% commission that's taken on these kinds of gifts could be one reason why they haven't cracked down on these awful practices harder.
Yeah, this is actually fucking gross. Ew. This makes, low-key watching this makes me not even want to be on the platform. That's why I'm gonna continue just posting ghosts, man. I post my shit, check my comments if I get any, and then I move on. That's it. Ugh.
It's illegal exploitation, plain and simple. And obviously, it isn't really the kids' fault. Lots of them probably barely have an idea of what they're actually being paid for. And
It's absolutely not the kids' fault. They're just fucking, I'm gonna do a funny dance on TikTok or whatever and get likes. It's fucking weird, man.
TikTok is at least doing something to try and put a stop to this stuff. The accounts eventually get banned, and they've tightened the rules on who can go live or get donations through the app. But instead of cracking...
And there's no way you can't tell me TikTok isn't able to see which account has kids on it and belongs to kids. Like, I feel like they can absolutely be like, oh, the algorithm or someone or something, he'd be like, yo, this account is just full of kids. It's just a kid full of kids and shit. It's just like, delete the account immediately. Don't even ask questions. Obviously, they're underage and they can't be on the platform. Just immediately fucking delete the account. There's no way they're not tracking that shit.
Down on the kids, TikTok should be going after the creeps that make up the audience.
They should do both. Not just one. They should do both. Like, track the accounts down that are being creeps, but also track down the accounts that are clearly violating the TOS and how like old you have to be to actually have a fucking account. Come on now.
For it. You see, instead of permanently banning them and calling the authorities, TikTok pretty much gives them a slap on the wrist. Late documents about their policies and people sending sexual messages to kids on the app shows that TikTok is using an awfully lenient 3-strike system. People caught sending the messages would first be given a 1-week ban, then a 1-month ban if they get caught again. It's only after the 3rd time they get caught sending these messages that they would get banned permanently from the app, and that's if they get caught at all. Former TikTok moderators spoke about how there was often a backlog of thousands of flagged messages at any one time, and that it could take them days to get to them.
Yeah, I can only imagine how like crazy it is when it comes to the amount of, like, how do you moderate that? TikTok has like fucking millions of people on that shit. At some point, I guess it's just gotta be like automated when it comes to that shit, but then that's also hard. Like sometimes people slip through the cracks. It's just like, I don't know. I don't envy that. I do not envy that at all.
More falling through the cracks. On top of that, when they looked at the kids' accounts, there would often be 10 or more adults messaging each kid. TikTok says these policies have been tightened and made stricter in recent years, but considering the site still has the same problems 2 years after that statement, they clearly weren't strict enough. It indicates systematic failure that the largest social media app in the world isn't better at moderating and policing this kind of stuff. The fact that it's been a problem for years is just awful. TikTok's upper management weighs the costs of moderation not against preventing harm, but against the costs of the punishment.
Yeah, I think the amount of money you're making with TikTok, a lot of it has to go into moderation. It just has to. It's not sustainable to fucking just leave the platform the Wild West the way it is right now.
If the fines and outrage they get from the problem are less expensive than actually dealing with it, there's no economic reason for them to do anything anymore. It's the same recklessness and cynical thinking that permeates big tech companies and how they affect the world around them. TikTok's algorithms are the same. Even though the way they work and the way the app functions turns kids into addicts, they don't care. It keeps them on the app and it makes TikTok more profit from ad revenue and microtransactions. The result is a whole generation dominated by kids without good attention.
Which goes back to what I was saying. You gotta be a parent, man.
Spans, and without the skills they need to survive in our harsh world. TikTok and the constant bombardment of dopamine and information erodes those essential skills. But what's more subtly damaging about TikTok is the culture that it gets kids involved in on the app. It shows them a world where appearances mean everything.
Okay, you can't blame TikTok for that. That's just been social media since the conception of it. Not even before that, like TV. You see people on TV and he's like, damn, I want to be that. Why don't I look like that? Blah, blah, blah. It's just been like that forever. You can't blame TikTok for that, man.
Disorders are quirky traits to collect like Pokemon, and abusive behavior is normalized. Just look at a recent TikTok challenge that's been going around, the loyalty test. In it, someone will pretend to be someone else and send their partner nudes or flirty texts. If they reciprocate and go along with it, then they fail the test.
You want to come over? You know, we can watch some Netflix and
Yeah, I mean, I'm down.
and you can be sure 99% of the content is staged, just like almost everything else.
Yeah, most of this shit is absolutely staged. Every time I see something like this online, I'm like, I know this shit ain't real, bro. Like in the real world, if you go to somebody with this stupid ass with a camera in their face and saying, you want to do this challenge or ask this question, like most people are gonna ignore you, or they're probably gonna push you out their fucking way. It's like, move, I got someplace to be.
On TikTok, but it sets an awful example. It's manipulative for starters, and it only serves to create conflict and drama. If you really feel the need to do this, you need to ask yourself why you feel that way in the first place, then go from there. What you obviously shouldn't do is follow some fake TikTokers' advice. The way
Absolutely. Anytime I see, don't take any type of mental advice or take it with like a massive fucking spoonful of salt. You know, when you see people giving advice and then you see this from TikTok, I don't be listening to half that shit, bro. Usually they don't know what they're talking about. They're just pretending.
The way they out-treat mental disorders is even worse though. On TikTok, anything that sets you apart from the crowd of over 1 billion users is valuable. And unfortunately, that includes certain disorders and symptoms like getting involuntary tics, often associated with Tourette's.
A mysterious explosion of severe physical and vocal.
I remember there was like, wasn't there a girl who was like pretending she had this shit and she was just like deformed likes and shit? That shit is so fucking weird.
Tics affecting mainly teenage girls. Incredibly, in some cases appearing overnight, completely out of nowhere.
Often teens indoctrinated by the app and adults that really should know better end up faking these.
Yeah, that shit is so fucking like, I don't even have the words for that. Like you're faking like a disorder for likes. Do you know how dystopian that fucking sounds? That sounds fucking crazy.
Symptoms. Meanwhile, the amount of teenage girls going to the hospital for involuntary tics tripled over the pandemic. This is what happens when medical conditions get commodified and turn into something desirable and interesting. The fakers only add to this, further trivializing and making a joke out of a very serious issue. In lots of cases, it's likely to be a microcosm of mass hysteria. People see TikTokers showing or faking these symptoms and they start doing it themselves as well. And
I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of bumming me out. I was expecting to feel like this watching this video, dude. Holy fuck.
Considering the Tourette's hashtag has over 4 billion views on TikTok, it's not as unlikely as it sounds. In a way, everyone is a victim of TikTok and the obnoxious behaviors it promotes amongst its users, but obviously some people are far more at risk than others. It's a dangerous app, like anything on the wider internet is. In a few short years, it wormed its way into over 1 billion people's lives. We still don't know what the long-term effects would be of this massive societal shift, but
that shit's about to be fucking terrible. The long-term effects of TikTok, bro, it's going to be awful. In a couple of years, when you see these kids on this website, what they're going to be like as adults, man.
If they're anything like the short-term effects we've already talked about, then it's only going to get worse.
This is an interesting video. This shit definitely, like, in the end, like I said, it definitely bummed me out. But a lot of this can be solved with, I think, in my opinion, a lot of it can be solved with parents actually being parents and looking out for their kids and moderating what they're doing with their phones. Don't give your kids fucking iPads and unlimited access to the internet at a young age. Like, it's just irresponsible, honestly. But at the same time, I think a lot of parents are just like ignorant to like what's going on, or they're not even like technologically like savvy to be able to lock down their kids' phones and access to what they have on the internet, man. It's fucking crazy out here. Holy shit.